Hello, everyone. Welcome to Veganology JJ. I was getting ready to say Meatless Monday, but it's not a Meatless Monday episode. We're actually doing an amazing plants formations episode, and we're going to talk about transforming with plant-based nutrition. And I have here an extremely special guest who's been kind enough to take his time to come and talk to us. He helps women over 25 lose weight, and he helps people and different clients with coaching and plant-based nutrition. And I saw a lot of his videos on Facebook I came across, and I thought it was really interesting. I love the tips that he was giving for helping people even when they're busy, like how to fit plant-based nutrition into your life. So I just want to welcome, and I'm sorry if I'm going to mispronounce your name. Michael, is it Richner?
Yeah, it's Richner or Richner, so it's a
Richner?
Swiss
Okay.
name.
I
So
was
you can,
wondering if I should pronounce the H or not. Welcome and thank you for joining us. And you're joining from pretty far away, right?
yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. And yeah, I live in Switzerland. So at the time when we're recording, it's 7 p.m. And I think at your place it's about 1, something like
Yes.
that.
So we didn't want
So
to
big
ask him to
difference.
come on the live show. He would have had to stay up all night. So thank you for being here.
You're
So if you could
welcome.
just tell us a little bit about how you got started even in understanding nutrition and how you got started on this journey in your life.
Yeah, sure. So I started to eat more plant-based about 3 to 4 years ago. And before that, I was always pretty sportive. Like I played a lot of tennis, like 5 to 6 times a week. I was very competitive, but my nutrition was very bad. So I just ate whatever I wanted, a lot of fast food, a lot of white pasta, rice, and all of that, a lot of meat, of course, because that's just what I was told to eat, right? And kind of the standard Western diet. And then I was always tired. I didn't have a lot of energy, even though I trained a lot. And I always had like a bad mood. And I slept always during classes in school. And at some point, I realized also regarding the sport, playing a lot of tennis, that I have to change something in my nutrition. And I also saw my father gaining a lot of weight, and he didn't even eat like as fat as I did. But it was just he ate a lot of white bread and all of that, just also the standard Western diet. And that was the first time when I was more interested in learning more about nutrition. And I bought my first book, which is a German book. So I don't think it's available in the US, but it's called the Nutritional Compass, I think. And this showed me kind of the first, like the basics of nutrition and what is important. And there it was a lot about eating a lot of fruits, a lot of plant-based stuff. And then I bought my second nutrition book because I was very interested in it even more. And this was from Dr. Michael Greger. I
Hmm.
think some of your people also know him. And it was How Not to Die. That was the second book that I read. And I was even more interested then in nutrition and plant-based nutrition. And that's how my journey started. And I got more and more into it.
Wow, that's excellent. And then how, like when you started, did you feel like, I guess that's like, I think that's what happened with me. I started with a documentary called Raw, and it was about people healing different health conditions with a
Mhm.
plant-based and more mostly raw food diet. And that got me so interested that I said, this is like I watched all these people, and I think that's one of the most important things you can do as you being a health coach is tell your own story. And I assume, did you at that point you started to eat more plant-based, and did
Yeah.
you feel those things change?
Yeah. So for me, it was like I ate a lot more
Hmm.
whole foods plant-based, and my diet is, I'd say, so generally I eat about 95% plant-based. So there are some occasions when I also eat some animal products, but I believe everyone needs to find out the way that suits them best. But when I eat plant-based, I eat like mostly whole foods. And when I did that, when I started, I felt really better, more energized, and my mood was also better, and I just generally felt better. But what I wanted to add here, which is I think very important also for people who want to begin with eating more plant-based, I thought in the beginning it was really easy. So you just need to eat more salads, a little bit more greens, veggies, and fruits, and that's it. But eating plant-based needs some considerations and some planning in order to not get deficient in certain nutrients and just thrive in life. So therefore, you need to plan and need to know certain things. But if you know them, which nutrients are important and where you can get them, then it's awesome.
And I think that's I remember we were talking right before the stream and you mentioned that and I'm like it's really important that people know, especially I have a lot of listeners and there may be people that are beginners and I love working with people from the beginning too that may come across one of these videos and it may end up changing their life. But sometimes if you don't want to go like completely plant-based like I did, some people have to go on their own journey. And if you can just start eating more, definitely to start with, like you can already start feeling the health benefits by just increasing the plants, and the
Mm-hmm.
whole foods was really important too. And just everything you mentioned there is so true about nutrients because I think a lot of people fail at the diet or they say this didn't work or I felt more tired or because they're not
Yeah.
getting all the nutrients. So, having a coach like you to kind of guide them and talk to them about, hey, here's the nutrients that are important. I had to kind of piece it all together from looking up articles and then, feeling
Yeah.
this and finding out about B12 like 6 months in and, what do I need and making sure it was well rounded. That's one of the things I did why I think I found more success. And some people just eat like a junk food vegan. Like,
Yeah.
I find a lot of times when you come into it, maybe like if you just saw a documentary where you go more into the animal rights part of it and you just cut meat from your diet and then you see all these great vegan products they have, but many of them have a lot of sodium and so they're not
Mm-hmm.
whole foods even though they're vegan. So I definitely think that's important. And at that point, I assume when you became, how did you start to get into like helping others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I started about like after 2 or 3 months, I started also to lose some weight, but I didn't want it to. So I was already kind of slim, but I just didn't get enough calories with the way I ate. Like as I said, I just ate more veggies, more fruits, and ate as much as I wanted, but I didn't get in like the same calories as I did before when I played a lot of tennis and ate a lot of fast food, white bread, and so on. And then I lost weight and I didn't realize it. And that's kind of a funny story because my girlfriend and I met her sister, and she didn't see me for like 2 months, like since I started. And then she came to me and was like, Michael, you lost weight, right? And I was, no, I don't think so. And then I weighed myself and I lost a few pounds and I didn't really know why. That was the first realization that plant-based nutrition is not only good for feeling better, but it's also good for losing weight. And the second time was when I was in the company that I worked and I changed my diet. I took more salads and veggies and so on with me. And then people ask me what I'm doing and why I'm doing this. And then I also help them. It was not always about plant-based nutrition, but more about nutrition generally, what they can do, what they can cook, and so on. And that's where I started to get interested more into the coaching because I realized, yeah, people need that. And I want to show people how they can eat plant-based and also healthy, plant-based, not the junk food and with all the nutrients, so that they can also lose weight. So for me, both was very important, and that's how I got started.
Oh, that's very interesting. It was almost like it found you because people started asking you
Yeah.
about it, and you're like, wait, okay, there's some people are seeking this information, which I think that's one of the top things that we all strive to do. Most of my life, I was trying to lose weight, trying to go on diets. And one of the things I found was that everything I started, it was like I would do it for a couple of months and I was really excited about it. And then it would be like, this is too hard to keep up with because it was like
Mhm.
counting the different, um, not necessarily counting
Calories.
calories, but kind
Yeah.
of like, those Weight Watchers where you could have like the
Mhm.
points. And then there was other diets where I would go on the low carb and it would be just unsustainable for me. And I think one of the easiest things that helped me keep it off was this because it simplified it more so, especially after I knew what exactly to eat and found what I liked. And I noticed in your
Mhm.
Facebook and your materials, it talks about women over 25. And I was laughing earlier with you because I felt like I could eat whatever I wanted in my life up until for some reason it seemed to catch up to me at 25. I remember weighing myself and being like, I have never been this heavy in my life. I could eat all the junk food as, the fast food and um, different things as a kid, fries and everything, and not gain weight. So I thought it was interesting that that would have been the age where I would have needed this more than ever. So I think it's a great thing. And so you actually then will help people and coach them what to eat at this point when they come to you.
Yeah, so in my program, it's about three things. The first thing is about how to be consistent with what you do, and also a little bit about mindset, because only if you can do something long term, if you can eat plant-based long term, then you will succeed with it. So there it's all about like managing your mind, your thoughts, how you talk to yourself, setting your goals. So that's the
Mhm,
first part. Second part is all about plant-based nutrition. There it's about, as I said, what you should eat, how much you should eat, what you need to consider, because it's I believe everyone needs to find a way that suits him best. So it's the easiest way for him or her to lose weight. So if someone in the beginning can't avoid to eat some processed foods, even if it's vegan foods, but because he just can't. It's just not possible because it's a too big change.
mhm,
Like changing to a plant-based diet is a big change. And then if you're used to eating a lot of processed foods or fast food, and then you have to change both, then it's going to be hard. So there are different methods you can use, like when you choose different ways of eating, more clean, like the clean way or the processed way. So there, everyone needs to find out the way that suits them best, and I need them to support them with their decision. So that's the second part. And the third part is a little bit about exercising. So I focus on exercising because I know exercising is really important when it comes to losing weight long term. But I just touch on that because I believe everyone should do something that you enjoy, because only then you can do it long term. But it's very important that you also do some kind of resistance training, because you told me about 25 and asked me about why 25. So there are several reasons. First one is I feel comfortable then to work with women, because like the age, like if you're 18, 20, I don't want to work with like this young women. But when you're 25, 26, like in your 30s, I feel comfortable working with them. That's the first point. Second point, when you are 25, most of the people start to work. They sit more, they don't move as much as before. And I think that has also to do with the weight gain in this phase, because before you were more active when you were at school
mhm.
most of the time. And when you build muscle with exercising, then you will also burn more calories. So therefore, it's very important to also maintain or increase your muscle mass. So that's just a side note, but I think it's very important.
Definitely, yes. And like you said, it seems to be what you also coach is all it has to be kind of a everything in your life you have to gear towards your mindset beginning with, because that's figuring out that you want to make the commitment and do it and having those, that commitment is so important. What I think we all struggle with, mostly when we try to make a change, it's very difficult. Like if you've ate a certain way and you've got people surrounding you in your life that still eat the other way and you're now singling yourself out. And I find
Mhm.
though the more you do this, the more you start to feel the benefits. When do you feel like your clients start to see like positive results and help, maybe even health changes?
So this starts after the first few weeks because when you, let's say you ate a lot of fast food or just the standard Western diet, and then you change to eating more whole foods, after the first few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, most of my clients tell me that they are more energized. So they feel better, they sleep better, and they also lose weight. So I'd say 1 pound or 2 pounds a week is fine, but this depends. Some of my clients have other goals than just losing weight. There, it's more about learning what to eat, so that they get everything when they eat plant-based. So it really depends, but most of them feel the changes, the positive changes after the first few weeks.
I think a lot of people too, at least from my experience, what people ask on some of my shows is like they want to know what you eat. And like I think people needing that guide because we don't realize, well, at least until later on, I realized I'm only taking out really maybe three different things that I used to eat, like maybe chicken, pork, beef. There's a lot of things, other things that I found that are so good, like so many fruits, so many vegetables. But I think in our culture, when the way that we're raised and the way that we eat, we don't really expand and know what else to eat. So what would be like some typical meals that you would suggest or help plan?
Mhm. So what I suggest, so let's talk about foods because I like to talk foods, what they should add to their meals. So I
Okay.
would say 3 servings of legumes, which is beans, chickpeas, lentils, or also tofu, soybeans, so that you get the protein in. So this is very important and also other nutrients. But the first question when someone goes vegan or plant-based is where do you get your protein from, right?
Yes.
So three of those servings is great. So that's the first point. The second point that I would say is very important is that when you have your plate in front of you, like that is maybe 3/4 of it is veggies, maybe fruits, but let's say you eat lunch, then I would say 3/4 is green or colorful, and the other 1/4 is like grains, whole grains. So that's a good rule of thumb, I'd say. But I can tell you what I eat regularly. So when for breakfast I eat 3 meals a day. So I changed that from 2 to 3, but because I exercise in the morning and I feel like eating afterwards something. So that's why I changed it. So for breakfast, I have some soy yogurt with some vegan protein powder. It's a mix of um, pea protein, rice protein, and hemp protein. So for your listeners, it's very important when you get a protein powder. Some of you may want it, some of you don't want to have it. It doesn't really matter. But if you want to have it, then go for a mix of the different protein sources, because only then you can get all the different amino acids for your body so that it can thrive and build muscle or just function properly. So that's important. So I eat that with fruits. I mostly add bananas, and then it depends what is seasonal, right? Apples, whatever, just some fruits, 2 fruits most of the time. Then some nuts, sometimes peanut butter. I love peanut butter, really. That's what I sometimes add. And then some flax seeds. Flax seeds is very important because only then you get the omega-3. So with flax seeds or walnuts, for example, or just generally the seeds. But seeds like 1 tablespoon of flax seeds, for example, daily are best so that you get the omega-3s. And make sure to ground them because only then it's bioavailable for your body.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, because if you get only like the whole ones, then your body can't digest it properly, and then you don't get all of the omega-3s. So that's why grinding it is very important.
Okay, that's
And
great.
same goes with, let's say, chia seeds.
Hmm.
Don't just add them to your porridge or whatever you eat. You need to add some water and like let them soak overnight because only then as well there are very bioavailable and also the nutrients. So that's important so that you get everything you need. Okay, so that's breakfast.
Breakfast. We're on the lunch now,
Yeah,
right?
and sometimes also some oats I add there.
Okay.
Lunch, I mostly eat tofu with some veggies, mostly some cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, or something like that. And then I switch things up with brown rice, whole grain pasta, or just what potatoes or sweet potatoes, just whatever I feel like eating. So there I also get the protein from the tofu, and then I have the nutrients from the other vegetables. I also make sure that I get some carrots in daily for the vitamin A, for the beta carotene. So that's important. But sometimes I also eat that for dinner. And for dinner, it's kind of the same as for lunch. So it's a protein source like lentils, for example, or I like to baked beans, for example. I really enjoy that one. And then I add some more veggies to it. Different ones, or a green salad, a mixed salad with some corn and tomatoes and all of that. And that's what it is for the day.
I think one of the interesting things in hearing your meal, and I talk to people about this, and they are shocked. Sometimes they're like, "Wait, you can eat corn and potatoes in this,
Mhm.
and rice?" Because there are so many traditional American diets that are out here now that I
Mhm.
really think are short-term sustainable and not as healthy because from my research and probably from yours, when you look into plant-based nutrition, the way that our bodies are kind of like a machine, we were designed, and I know that now too, basically that's what makes our body run optimally, the way that our digestion works and the way our body, systems work. And so I think that's why the like plants actually make us feel so much more energy. They make us heal, and I was thinking, are your clients also shocked that they can eat that type of stuff when they and still lose weight?
Yeah, for them, it's mostly about how much they can actually eat generally, because it's most of the foods that you can eat on a plant-based diet are low in calories and high in water. So besides the potatoes, of course, and so on. But if you add a serving of potatoes, let's say, which is half a cup, and
Hmm.
then you fill your plate with a salad or with broccoli, spinach, or whatever, then it's really a lot that you can eat, and you don't get a lot of calories with it, and it's very filling. So that's why it works so well, the plant-based nutrition also for losing weight. Because as you said, like all the low carb diets, yeah, they work, they can work. You can lose weight with it. Some people also like it, and then it's fine for them. They can do this. But most of the people that I talk to, they told me that it's too restrictive for them because they're hungry all the time and they don't feel well with it.
Hmm.
So that's the beauty of plant-based nutrition.
I think that's one of the biggest changes, other than different things that health wise, like my blood pressure going down and losing weight. And I also found, I guess, that I had some type of dairy intolerance because my
Mhm.
seasonal allergies went away, and I'm thinking that might be, why. And I don't have any back pain, which could be due to weight loss, most of the, so. And then, but
Mhm.
energy was one of the things that really changed within me. Like I feel like I have so much more energy than before. So that, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is feeling energetic and focused in
Yeah.
their day. And like you said, it even changed the way that you were, tired. I don't get tired in the middle of the day anymore, by eating
Mhm.
foods, especially like fruits and vegetables. They give us that energy that we need. And I'm just curious, like, how do you think, like, how do you reach out to people, or how can they get in touch with you if they were interested in losing weight?
Yeah, so the best way is on social media. So I have an Instagram account and Facebook account. I also have LinkedIn. So if someone is interested in eating more plant-based, losing weight with plant-based nutrition, they can reach out to me, can send me a DM. And also I share also a list of my favorite plant-based foods for free. So if someone want to have some plant-based foods who are also calculated for weight loss, which kind of sounds weird, but it's just like they don't contain a lot of calories. So that's why it works. So if someone is interested in this list, then they can also ask me, and I share them for no charge. So that's no problem.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. And then once you start, you feel, and I think everyone just needs a guide to go through. You know what I mean? I think everyone has the ability and can make the commitment, but I think we just need sometimes a little like push in the right direction. And where do I start? That's such a tough thing, and it sounds like you make it easy for people to do that transition. I was going to say another thing is, do you find that they are able to sustain and keep it off when they eat more plant-based nutrition?
Mhm. So my first client that I started to work with, I started with her about a little bit more than a year ago. And she lost, like when we stopped, she lost about 26 pounds with plant-based nutrition. And afterwards she continued. And she's still on her way. She's still eating plant-based and she lost even more weight because for her it was just like she was searching for the right way for her and she couldn't find it until she started to work with me, and with the guidance she found something that was sustainable, and that's why she could do it long term. So yes, it's possible.
And I love it because you said, like, a lot of people just think, oh, I have to eat a big pile of lettuce 3 times a day. There's so much more variety in
Mhm.
things that you can do. And I also noticed you focused in one of your videos I was watching today, on how to, some people think I don't have time to do all this meal prep, but we don't, I think we don't realize that we have to prepare something anyway to eat, most of the
Yeah.
time. So it's just changing. And I know for me, I go into the store and I know exactly what I buy now. It's just changing those things. So I noticed you were talking about quick, easy ways or meals too, which is really good that you can help people to understand.
Yeah, it's always finding a way to do it, right? And sometimes people have excuses. And that's also what I focus on, like with my videos, because I know, I mean, I'm very, very, very busy and I still find time to cook. And sometimes it's just like, yeah, I get a can of beans and I throw them into the oven. I have some tofu and maybe some fruits or vegetables and eat that. And that takes me like 10 minutes. And then I have a more or less nutritious meal. So it doesn't take a lot of time if you know what you should eat and like the right foods that you should have at home.
How like important do you feel like adding Is there any suggestion you have of like the raw salads, or do you pretty much do like a proportion of that as far as cooked or raw food, or does it really not matter in nutritional, in your weekly food?
Yeah. So for me, it's not that important
Hmm.
actually. So when I stumbled across the raw vegan food community, I didn't really look much into it because for
Hmm.
me it wasn't really an option. Um, because sometimes you really need to cook foods in order to get some toxins out of
Hmm.
it. Because when you
Yes,
eat, you
like
can't really eat,
mushrooms.
yeah, mushrooms or also lentils. If you eat
Hmm.
them raw, it's not good. And you also don't get all the nutrients. It's not very bioavailable. So that's why it's important to cook certain foods. Also,
Hmm.
let's say carrots, you need to add some fat to it so that you get all the vitamins because it's fat soluble. So therefore, it's sometimes good to cook it.
Hmm.
And so, there are also some other foods. I can name all of them. But for example, spinach also contains a lot of, I think it's oxalates,
Hmm.
which can inhibit the calcium absorption if you get too much of it. But if you boil it and you rinse the water, then most of the oxalates go like are in the water, and then it doesn't contain that much anymore. So therefore, I think it's good to have like both of it.
Hmm.
I would go
Definitely.
for both.
Okay, that's good. I love lentils, by the way. They're one of my favorite
Yeah,
legumes or
me
legumes.
too.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. But definitely and I think especially for people transitioning, it sounds like the easiest thing is to make that be your new protein source, like even people who want traditional meals, like if they eat pasta sauce, or if you're eating something that you traditionally use meat in. I love making that, using beans, tofu. That would be a good substitute, it sounds like, or a good,
For sure.
um, thing to use other than meat. So I think that's part of it is understanding, that well balanced thing and all of the information that you have there, knowing the nutrients that are in certain foods and what they do, for our body, like the carrots with the vitamin A, and that I think vitamin A is good for like skin, eyes, different
Ice, very
lots of
important.
things.
Yeah.
We've always heard
Hmm.
that with the carrots, right? At least
Yeah, and it's
here.
true. It's
And
true.
it's true, right? They weren't lying about that. And then,
Mhm.
there's so many things I think that foods have in them that benefit us. I look at it like we're fueling our body. I did want to mention too, you mentioned, said you played tennis. Did you find that your athletic performance increased too when you started incorporating more plants?
I think it's more like the recovery was faster,
Hmm.
which is great. So I didn't feel as tired for such a long time. But I like the everything else was kind of stable, like the same, I'd say.
Hmm.
But energy wise, like I was more energized generally throughout the day. And then I recovered faster. It just felt better generally.
I think overall it's just a good feeling that and a lot of that, especially if you're overweight or you feel that, you're not as happy with yourself. I think just the in general, the losing weight helps a lot because you do
Yes.
feel more, energetic. And the other thing is when, is keeping that weight off and being sustainable because then you can continue this
Mhm.
for a long term. And it's definitely like it can be one of the easiest things to do, but I don't think it's easy until you have that guide or that help of, because that's one of the things that you don't know, where to start sometimes, because I know over time, especially early on in my journey, I would just like listen to different vegetable videos and I'd be like, oh wow, I need cucumber fruit, I guess, or vegetables like cucumbers. I was like, oh, look at all this and carrots and
Mhm.
these different green vegetables, I'm like, oh, I need to add this. So I realized adding it all in, but I love the way you kind of can help help someone in the beginning know exactly, how much they should include and what options to have, which, other protein to have, because that's one of the biggest questions. I did have a question. I should pay for this coaching, right, if I'm going to get it, but I was wondering, since I like prefer to eat more of a highly raw diet, do you have any
Mhm.
suggestions for fruits or vegetables that could sustain weight? Because I don't want to continue to lose weight. I kind of go back and forth, and that's why I end up incorporating more rice and beans and cooked foods, even though I personally like more raw. So I'm not sure what to eat to
Mhm.
keep up. Like if you don't want to continue to lose weight, would that be the
Mhm.
suggestion to do
Yeah.
like avocado maybe?
Yeah, so there are also fruits that are higher in calories. So in the end, energy balance matters a lot. So calories in versus calories out when you want to lose weight. So really depends. So when you, let's say you eat at the moment 2000, or your maintenance calories, this is the amount where you don't lose or gain weight, is 2000. And at the moment you are at about 1800, so that you lose weight, right? Then you have to eat more, or you have to eat fruits that are higher in calories.
You seem to simplify it in a sense for people. Like, okay, if you eat less calories, you're automatically going to lose weight. And I find, though, oddly enough, that on this diet, I eat more than I did and still sustain weight loss. So I think that's, when you can eat more
Mhm.
vegetables, especially as your clients probably get
Mhm.
down to their weight that they want to be at, it's kind of it makes it fun because you can increase those vegetables on your plate. They're not as many calories as like the other products. Do you recommend any like cutting out obviously processed and fried food? I would assume when you said whole foods, those are like
Mhm.
regular fruits, vegetables, beans,
Yeah. So as you mentioned in the beginning, like when you eat processed foods, they contain sometimes also saturated fats a lot, sometimes sodium, and sometimes they are also high in calories, also the ones. But it can be good for certain people. And this is like for the ones that don't want to take supplements. And some of the vegan meat alternatives, they contain vitamin B12, for example,
hmm
and also some other nutrients that vegans should focus on. And if you don't want to take supplements, then you need to add some fortified foods to your diet. For example, also some plant-based milks that contain calcium, for example, which is
hmm
important for vegans. So there it can be beneficial for some people. So my view generally is there are no bad foods. Generally, don't I don't talk about bad and good foods, because some people, like when you have a problem with like an eating disorder or something like that, and
hmm
then you talk about good or bad, then this is not good for them, because then they cut out everything that is bad.
Yeah,
But I would just talk about this more in the direction of reducing the processed foods and eat like 95, if you can 100, of course 100, but as much whole foods as possible.
that's that's great. And I can always feel like over the times when I've shifted, the other way, if I start to find myself eating more processed food, since I've been probably all over every spectrum of the plant-based, from like going completely whole foods, and then when I add more processed foods, I still feel healthy, but I do feel the difference. Like you definitely can feel the effects of not having the whole foods. It's just like I feel like my body like
Mhm.
craves those now. And I think that's a big thing that people have to go through within a change too, is when you start to eat a certain way, then your body like wants that if it's if it's starting to see those benefits. Like it'll generally make you, like right now, if you're watching this
Yeah.
and you're thinking, I don't know, JJ or Michael, I'm not going to be able to do this. I crave burgers all the time. But as you do this and kind of make the commitment and start eating more plants, I feel like that's what happened to me. Certain things I didn't even like before, I like now, just because my body is open to trying new, different vegetables. And I'll like crave a salad as opposed to craving the other things once all that finally cleared out of my system and your habit changes.
Yeah. Of course. And also like your taste buds, they also change when you eat plant-based and reduce or avoid the meat intake. And after some time, you don't want to eat it anymore and you don't feel like you have the urge to eat it. So this takes some time, but now when I smell meat most of the time, I don't like it anymore. And before it was kind of a trigger because I really liked it. But this changes after some time.
That is very true. And I think, yeah, I've heard that before that our taste buds actually change. So that's not just a like a metaphor that people throw out or whatever you want to call it or a cliche. It really does,
Mm.
their
Mm.
taste can change. That's interesting. Well, it's really cool that you
Mhm.
know so much about nutrition, that you're kind of like a wealth of information and you can help people if they're starting to feel this way. You need to incorporate more of this type of food. And I think that's a really good knowledge to have when you're, helping people. I know that there's just probably the same thing that happened to you happened to me, where we see so many benefits in this that it's exciting to meet other people with other, different forms of knowledge, which is why I love bringing on. I don't think I've
Mhm.
ever had someone that focused on weight loss, which is such a big, you know, thing that most people are struggling with, and it's difficult for them and they're going up and down and, and having a lot of different health conditions based on that. So I think you're definitely like transforming people, and that's such a great thing that you took your knowledge and your gift and brought it to other people.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so it's a big passion of mine, nutrition and plant-based nutrition generally. So that's why I'm really interested in it. What I like, maybe last thing that I want to add from my side, it took me several years to find like important things out, like what to eat exactly, like the supplement side. So it took me some time. And therefore, as you said, sometimes it's important to have someone, some guidance that helps you with the first step so that you know that you get everything. You can learn it for yourself, of course, but it takes just some time. And I don't know everything still yet, so it's always a process, right? We
Hmm.
are all in it, and we will learn more. But it just takes something, and I think it's very important that you have a good start when transitioning to a plant-based diet, because otherwise it can happen what you mentioned, that they did it for some months and they were deficient in certain things, and then they tell everyone that the vegan diet or plant-based diet doesn't work because they just didn't do the right things.
Exactly. I think that's great. And what I'll do, I'm gonna put your Instagram and Facebook. Is that the two platforms that we can reach you?
Yeah, these are
Okay.
the best ones.
All right, that's great. And I love the and you have a lot of, like you said, free content that you put out too, to just check out so that you can see more of your advice and wisdom. And you'll see, like I did, like, wow, I need to talk to him because there is something, there's some things that there are so many people that need help in that part of their journey, and like mindset. What do you think is the most important thing in mindset to really realize? Is it just making the commitment to do it?
No, I believe it's finding your reason, your big why. Why is it important to you to eat plant-based? And
Hmm.
in the case of my clients, why is it very important for you to lose weight? what is your biggest desire with that? And if you know that, then you can go through the hard and difficult times. So when you come home after a long day and you know why it's very important for you, then you are more likely to stick to your healthy eating habits than if you just come home and it was a hard day and some thoughts come into your head and you tell yourself, oh, let's just have like a pizza,
Hmm.
frozen pizza or something like that. So it's easier when you know why you do it and then you remind yourself like daily or every other day why you're doing this to
That
keep you committed.
that is really so important. Thank you for that. And for everyone listening, let's get our why. Let's do this, right? We're ready. If you're ready, let's make that why or figure out that because that is really important. It's so easy to, especially in the beginning. I think as you get more involved in this lifestyle, you find that you just make those choices without thinking about it, or maybe your cheat time is okay, I'm going to have this, processed vegan burger or something instead, or, I'm going to go
Mhm.
the other way and not eat completely off for a week, because you can spiral that way and get back into the other habit. So I love when you actually think about each meal is a choice. What are you motivated with? I think that your why would have to be really important. So that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add or tell us about before I know I'm running over for you? Thank you so much. I always go like we're going to talk about a half hour and then we end up talking because
Yeah,
I
it's a
can tell you're
pleasure.
passionate about this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, last thing that I forgot to mention. So I also offer a free 5 day coachings for people who want to transition or also lose their first few pounds with plant-based nutrition. And there I talk about the basics, what is important, give some tips. It's one-on-one. So if someone also want to do that and have the recipes, of course, then they can reach out to me. So it's free of charge. And if someone doesn't like it afterwards, then it's fine. But I think you will enjoy it. So yeah, that's it from my side. And I really enjoyed it to talk to you. It was a pleasure. And I can also see that you're very passionate about this, the whole topic. So it was awesome to meet a like-minded person.
Yes, definitely. And I find that what you said there, the 5 days, finding out, even if you start out with a little bit of a why, like maybe I want to feel better or I want to, lose weight,
Mhm.
when you learn sort of if you can teach them about what plant-based nutrition does for your body, which has been a big motivator for me, like what it actually, what each of these foods can do, it will continue, from there and seeing a little bit of results. Do you find that in that first 5 days, do they tend to like you can lose a couple of pounds in that time and feel motivated, I think,
Mhm.
too, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so in those, like when we do when it's about losing weight for them, and they can lose the first few pounds, I say most of the women that I do it, they lose about 2 to 6 pounds in the 5 days. And if they see that it's working, they are motivated to do this. So
Hmm.
that's kind of a Kickstarter because they realize, oh, okay, it's working. Nothing
Right.
worked for me before. And then they're more open to do this because they realize, okay, plant-based nutrition is great. It's not that bad, and I lost weight. And yeah, they're more open to it.
That's great. Well, I am so excited to have talked to you finally here. We've been
Yeah.
trying to coordinate a time. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and we really are
Thank
thankful
you
here.
too.
Well, I already said, is there anything else? Look, I'm trying to make you go longer. Thank you for all the information
Yeah.
and wisdom and all of your, nutrition and knowledge. We really are thankful to have had you, and I will share this.
Thank you.
All
I'm
right,
very
you have a
grateful
great
as well, and thanks for having me.